Hello, everybody. It is me, Pacific, and it is Tuesday. Oh, yesterday was a blessing. I thought it was going to be 100 degrees. Turned out that it was cooler than I thought it would. I think it got up to like 86. Got little thermometers on the readout on the trucks, and I'm like, wow, and it was humid. The clouds rolled in, and I had a whole bunch of stuff to do, and my 8 hours went. I was working so hard that I was like, 3 o'clock? You're kidding. It was awesome. I love it when a day goes by like that. Today may be a different story. It's going to be supposed to be 100 degrees 1 or 2 of the days this week. Want to share with my viewers that I had some thoughts going through my mind that the other day I looked on the internet because I've always had a dream of sailing across the Pacific Ocean, and I saw that there are companies, freighters, cargo ships, container ships, that you can book a passage on and go all the way to Hong Kong, Australia, New Zealand. You can go all the way around the world on freighters. That'd be a little pricey to do an all around the world cruise, though. Pacific would love that. But I looked at the one that leaves Long Beach to go to Hong Kong on a container ship, and it's 25 days and about $110 a day. They give you 3 meals a day. You have your own stateroom, which is really nice. And they said that usually only 5 or 6 other people show up for this. And at most, you might have 12 to 19 other passengers. But you got the run of the ship. You're allowed to go up to the bridge and talk to the captain. And I was thinking, wouldn't that be cool to bring my laptop? I'll have no internet out there. But I can make videos, write down each one what they're about, and do videos from the deck of the ship crossing my namesake. That would be cool. So I was talking to the man of the house, and I said, it's a little pricey, but I ought to look at doing that one day. Then I could fulfill my dream of crossing the Pacific 25 days out at sea. Now, wouldn't that be cool? No traffic, no internet for 25 days. And I thought, I'd be on a ship. I wouldn't be bored at all. I'd be doing video from my stateroom. I'd be walking around the ship, showing everybody stuff, looking out across the stern. I thought, Then another thing, a friend of mine from Yugoslavia said, I'm looking at moving to Germany in a year. And she says, if I'm able to be successful and do this and I get an apartment, you are welcome to stay with me as long as you want. It is more expensive to fly round trip from Colorado to Germany, Berlin, than it is Hong Kong. I looked at prices the other day, just at the end of this month. If I were to go to the end of this month, it's $1,080 to go round trip to Hong Kong. Kind of convoluted. Go from Denver to LA, LA to Seoul, and then back down to Hong Kong. And another one was all the way to Beijing with a layover. And I was like, oh. Love San Francisco because it's always a direct flight. So I was looking at ideas because the Bible tells us to work, but all work and no play is a gloomy day. And I thought, it's been 3 years since I've done anything. I have a black lady friend who is older than me, who's a friend, and we talked about going to, excuse me. I actually had a good sleep. I got 7.5 hours of sleep last night, which is rare. I've been reading the book, A Light in the Storm, The Diary of Amelia Martin, Fenwick Island, Delaware, 1861. And I was reflecting, she has just turned 16 at that point in the diary, talking about the beginning of the Civil War, talking about Abraham Lincoln becoming the president, talking about things a young lady would talk about, an interest she has in a guy named Daniel who's drafted into the war front, talking about her father and the keeper of the lighthouse and her duties to clean the lens, to trim the wick, to fill the oil, to do the different duties, to row her rowboat across what she calls the ditch, to go to school every day and to help tutor and teach other children as well as learn herself. When I read this book, the first thing that strikes me is she's 16, and I look at today's 16-year-old girls. I see no narcissism in her. And it just, last night, I actually got off the internet and I started reading and did more reading than normal. And I was like, you know what? We live in such a different age that we're almost at a disadvantage and a disservice. If you think about it, the internet is almost an underworld. Hold on a second. My allergies aren't so bad today. Good grief, yesterday? Crazy. Get out there and work hard, and it seems to do something to the allergies. Don't know why. It makes them lessen. It strikes me. I work with children. I work with students. And this summer has made me realize I like being away from that. Don't get me wrong, I like kids. But there's an ugliness that has entered the soul of humanity today, especially in America's shores. And honestly, the more time I spend with humanity, the more I want to get away from it as well. And I love people. I'm a people person. But notice, even when I go across the ocean, I don't want to be on a cruise ship with 20 million other people, with swimming pools and cabarets and Las Vegas reviews and all-you-can-eat stuff-your-face buffets and all this activity. When I lean across the rail and look out at sea, I don't want anybody else in my private moment. I want to stand on the steel deck of a freighter and be alone. And as I was looking, most of the people who do the freighter thing seem to be older, so they're not going to be bothering me anyway. I read some excerpts from some of these travel sites on these freighters, and it said that you become family so quickly with the crew and the other passengers because it's more intimate. And I thought, now that's cool. I mean, I'm sure I'll meet some nice people if I choose to do that. But still, even part of me said, wouldn't that be fun to do something like that with somebody? But I thought, but no, this is something I need to do by myself. Pacific, being out alone on the ocean to clear the cobwebs from one's mind and get away from the freeway that we tend to live on and get out on the water highway that connects us to a different world. Amelia Martin is a mature girl growing up in a troubled time. And as I read, even the Confederate flag is woven into that they call it the Stars and Bars, and the people are flying it in complete, in your face, making a statement that they support slavery. There it is. There it is, right there, from a diary of a 16-year-old girl. And the controversy surrounding this symbol of racism shouldn't even be. And I don't know why that Americans have to hold so tenaciously to some iconic traditional thing which roots are deeply, deeply, clearly evident to all that there was racism, that it was our way of saying that it was Americans on that side of the spectrum saying, we support slavery. The way they looked at the Negroes back then was nothing short of deplorable, but yet this young lady even works into her story people that she knew personally who had slaves but paid them handsomely and treated them as human beings. She did not like slavery. She said, if it goes away, it will not sadden me. But yet she even admits her fear as boatloads of black people are escaping to the north just on the cusp, the eve of a civil war breaking out. As the keeper of a lighthouse, as a young girl who's helping her father, and she's watching one night and she sees boat after boat in the dark. And she said it made her scared to think of so many slaves in such proximity. It's an honest diary of an honest woman. She has feelings for a young lad who goes to war. She loves her parents, but her mother is quite difficult. I'm at the point now where mother moves out of the house. She can't stand the ocean. She can't stand being at the lighthouse. She constantly kibitzes and squabbles with her husband. And you know what's funny? Not once in any of this do you see a young lady playing the drama queen or the victim. I read her diary and I see something that has long ago left our culture. In fact, the diary is so powerful that I wondered, and maybe my viewers can private message me on this, and maybe I should do half-hour excerpts of me reading the book online so that people can hear the story instead of having to pick it up and read it. But I don't know. I don't know how popular that would be. It's a fascinating read, and it hits me how radically different our world is today compared to just 1861. She talks about a woman named Oda Lee, who is a scavenger. And Oda Lee stands by the sea every night waiting for a ship to go down and rows out her boat and strips everything off of it once all hands have left it. It was very common back in those days, well up into the 20s and 30s, even the 40s and 50s, when people would wait for a ship to sink, go out and strip off all the furnishings and the lights and the portholes, and they called themselves salvagers. I call them pirates. Taking advantage of an unfortunate situation. Boy, we see a lot of that going on today. I was just talking to a viewer of mine who has been taking care of his mother. Yesterday, one of our salespeople got back from the East Coast. He had a wonderful trip, went out on deep-sea fishing boats, went 2 hours out. He showed the flounder and the fluke and all the different fish that he caught. 38 pounds of fish, or 380 pounds of fish they caught. And he gave it all away to some old man, and he was talking about that his mother lives in a very old house, and he says, I got all my brothers and sisters, said, we need to get Mom out of this house. She could fall down those stairs. We gotta do something. And the boss, ooh, spider, see ya, you're done. That was a quick good morning. And the boss was talking about his mother, that he says, I got to get her out of her house too. And he said, I'm the one that has to be the ASS because the other siblings won't do anything. And then when I do something, Mom gets mad at me. And I said, Mom, this is for your own good. Making the hard decisions. Mother doesn't want to be on the island of Fenwick. She finally goes with grandmother to town. And the girl writes in her diary, it is so weird to think that Mother's not here. Never do you see drama, never do you see pity me. And when I look in at this culture and simply read a book like that, I go, my gosh, if only the teenage girls of 15, 16 years old could read that diary today, if they had the enough attention span and not ADD to do it. I love my own son, but even he told me the other day, I said, son, I told you that phone stays in the glove box of my pickup. Wow, you're on. Dad, I have to have it. I get anxiety. And I said, dude, is this your diaper? It's gotten so problematic that even our pastor spoke on the distraction of the cell phone as a segue into a sermon the other day. And I just couldn't help it going, amen, amen, amen. Oh, yes, here we go. That young women cannot face a public alone in solitude, cannot walk around a lake without signaling to everybody, I'm so important. And as I've asked over and over, what are they saying in those texts? Nothing. They're talking about the noodles they had last night, or that they're walking their stupid dog around a lake. That's it. that it was said years ago by somebody I respected that most of our conversation is just simply idle chit-chat, fluff that's meaningless. And we spend too much on words. But a viewer of mine writes about trying to deal with his mother who is succumbing to Alzheimer's. He said he had to take the bull by the horns and get a post office box so that he could sift through her mail because she has become prey for predators of scams trying to steal her money. I want to say something about American men and women who prey on older people. You are the most disgusting level of human beings that possibly exists, somewhere down there with my trolls. That you would ever, and I've heard this said, you screw over children and old people, you're not going to get points in Pacific's book, and you're not going to get points in most Americans' books. That is the true definition of greed. I remember a story of a woman that was related to my wife in Hibbing. Went over to see her. I pulled up, her driveway had been oiled. The oil sealer they put over the asphalt. I said, oh, I see you got your driveway oiled. She goes, oh, they did a horrible job. I said, who's they? She said, some company offered to charge this much. I paid them. They didn't finish the job. They missed cracks. They didn't do a good job. I said, did you call them back? She goes, there's no number. I said, what was the name of the company? And she told me, and I called the Hibbing police and talked to them, and the officer talked to me at length and said, every summer we have this happen up here in Minnesota. He said, these guys come from the Southwest America or the Dakotas or somewhere else. They roll into town. They prey on these old people. They do a crappy job, take the money, and they run, and we can't track them down. He said, we have sent out bulletin community warnings to the old people saying, unless it's a local company that's got a phone number and an actual address and a business here, don't do it. And yet they fall to this all the time because they offer to charge cheaper than the locals do it. Why do people scam people? Because they're narcissists, because they don't care, because they'll do anything to make a profit. There is no substitute for hard, honest, ethical work. There is none. When I go to work every day, at the end of the day, I know that I did not rip off the company. I worked in places where people like to stand around. I'm like, sheesh, guys, get to work. Your day is going to go by a lot faster than it does when you're standing around. Got in a truck yesterday that was so utterly filthy. And after sifting through the contents and finding money all over the floor and videos, some Christian, some regular movies, hazmat placards, jeans, purses, wallets, everything. Even the woman's health insurance cards. And we saw that this was a woman. It looked like a bomb went off in there. The upper bunk, the bottom bunk, curling irons. Found out that that company had went bankrupt. They literally closed the doors in 24 hours, told the drivers to come in and park the trucks. The minute they got out of the truck, the doors were locked, the keys were taken. They couldn't even get the contents out of their truck. Unbelievable. CB radios were left in them, of which we're pulling them all out. Nice Cobra CB radios that all work. But the interiors of each one of these trucks of this company that we inherited, that will go back for sale. As I brought a couple of those over to the dealership from the storage lot, I took one of the sales guys out and I said, you need to check this out. Hairspray bottles everywhere, Windex bottles everywhere, Febreze, little Christmas tree ornaments hanging from all over the dash to smell it good, 10,000 cigarette lighters. Open up the top drawer and there's crackers and packets of ketchup loaded in there. A box of graham crackers unopened that is 5 years past expiration date. And it's interesting to see how people live in their trucks. One truck I got into had a pair of cowboy boots and stuff all over the bunk, and it smelled like rank BO and dirty feet. I was like, gosh. And I used to romanticize the trucking lifestyle. I remember BJ and the Bear, hot-looking woman next to him, his little monkey sitting on the seat, and I'm like, it isn't like that. The woman even left a DVD player complete with a cigarette lighter adapter, to which I gave my son that he can use in the car. We have no way to track down the people. There's no addresses, nothing. So the boss said, it's yours, whatever you want. We're just going to have it all thrown in the trash in the detail shop anyway. But it hit me. If I was driving the truck, it would be neat as a pin. That's my living area. That's my office. Same way I keep my bus. And some people are comfortable living in a pig pen. Not me. But a woman driver, so much stuff in there, so much junk that was unnecessary. And it was strewn all across the floor. It was all over the bunks. Every compartment was full of stuff. Most of it just useless garbage. Folded up, ripped up pieces of paper that they weren't receipts. They weren't. I was like, what is all this? Kind of like an archaeological dig, trying to sift through and find out about the person who lived in this thing and drove. She had the nativity in some different Hollywood movies, and you try to figure out what were her interests. But if there could be archaeology 1,000 years from now, if we dig down into the sands of an American culture that is gone 1,000 years from now, and I promise you this country will not be here in 1,000 years, what will they find, if anything? We won't find pillared, marbled columns of a once great society. Maybe some of our Capitol buildings, the granite or the marble work will still be unearthed, busted pillars of the rotunda. But if we were to find a laptop, what would an archaeologist think it was? Everything's being recorded in cyber, so we have no way to access it. There's no cuneiform tablets, there's no papyrus, there's no stones with etched lettering on it. And if they were to revive and fire up the laptop, what would they find? 10,000 pictures like this. And what would that tell them about our culture? A culture that was obsessed with themselves. And yet, I'm reading a simple book about a simple girl growing up in a not-so-simple time. She's in a state, she's on an island, somewhat removed from the Civil War. At least it hasn't succumbed yet. Delaware. This girl has more maturity and care for others than I see in today's girls of her age. Today's teens are truly narcissistic as they're scuffing their feet through the mall with their cleavage showing, and you can see the stuck-upness and the attitudes in their faces. Girls back in 1861 grew up in a whole different world. There was no cell phones. There was no laptops. There was no Victoria's Secret. There was no malls. There was no cars. There was no television. There was no Hollywood culture. What a different world. Hollywood didn't even exist then. The girl refers to her diary as her friend. And yet in the midst of all that, you don't sense, oh, I'm so bored, I'm so alone. She was busy helping at the school, busy helping her father trim the lighthouse, busy doing things. In the journal entry, she said, I cooked 3 pies today, peach pies. I gave one to Oda Lee, I gave one to the Keepers of the Light, and I gave one to my mother, but she never commented on whether it was good or bad. We live in a different world, don't we? And it hit me. Last night it was raining. I felt the coolness come in. I opened the window all the way and I just smelled the air and looked out at the spruce trees and said, that is the real world. This here, this medium called the internet, it's like going down in the subway or the sewer. That it is a world, but it's a different one. And it hit me last night that many of us have went below the street down here, but your living is above the pavement, not underneath it. And we get caught up in the medium. We get caught up in the underbelly of the internet world. And if you simply turn the power off switch, you get in your truck, you go to work, you smell the rain, you deal with real people. And that's the world we have to live in every day. It's weird to think that every video I produce, every comment I leave is simply cyber. That if the computers failed, if the network completely crashed down, it's lost forever. Except in the eyes of God. Every idle word will be brought into account. Every thought unharnessed will be held before an almighty God. Everything I have said and done and thought will be laid bare, already is laid bare before a holy, perfect, righteous, flawless, impeccable, sinless God. And then there's us. The depths of depravity that we know upon our age of 15, 16-year-old girls today was unheard of back in 1861. Girls lifting their tops and taking pictures of themselves and sexting. Girls saying the words F you to adults, F you to bus drivers and teachers and police. The daughter is fishing with her father and says, Father, what is going on with Mother? Father very calmly says, Daughter, I love you, but there are some things we will not discuss. Wow, what a difference from our age. Ask somebody what's going on with somebody and they'll open their mouth like a gushing hydrant. Oh yeah, that person, blah, blah. And Father doesn't think it's prudent. And the daughter ends her journal entry by saying, it was clear I was not going to get anything out of him. It wouldn't be prudent to try. Wise choice, young lady. People today entertain gossip. People today, we as Christians don't feel a holy sense of conviction like they did back then. The people back then would put their hand over their mouth and go, oh, sister, you shouldn't say that. Today, they encourage it. Ooh, really? Even, I think it's Proverbs said, gossip is like a morsel. Do you notice that women love gossip? They feast on it. Every workplace I've ever been, I had a woman come up to me once and said, I got some scoop. You want to know what it is? Wow, you guys really live for this, don't you? And guys are becoming like girls too. They like scoop. They like gossip. But even back then, Mother was banging away at the father. He had made a mistake. I don't know what his mistake was. Something to do with being a captain at sea. So he was reduced to being a lighthouse keeper, and his wife never let him live it down and was badgering him and hounding on him and arguing with him, calling him an abolitionist. that own house was divided, that she couldn't respect his manhood and respect him. And even the daughter was horrified. Women have always been rebellious. That's nothing new. Even back then, he's doing his best to make a living, and he's got a wife just nagging away at him. At every public event they went to, that she is just fussing at him. The diary is good. It shows me a little snapshot of history of things that I didn't really know about. War was different then. It wasn't pushing buttons from a cockpit of an F-16. You were down there on the ground, face to face with muskets. And boy, was it bloody. I saw the movie Lincoln. And of course, Hollywood's version of it, but they showed dead people just laying around with half their legs missing. And people were picking them up on carts and wheeling them to town to give them proper burial. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we don't want to see that. Has anybody noticed here in Denver, I see it, I don't know about nationwide, but Denver, especially the Hispanic community, has this fascination and obsession with skulls. And I found out recently that there's a Catholic festival, a Mexican festival, the Day of the Dead, or the celebration of the Festival of the Dead or something. I haven't Googled it. But young ladies with skulls tattooed down their shoulder, their cleavage. And I find myself going, what is this fascination with the macabre? These young girls haven't grown up in a civil war. These young girls haven't grown up in any terrible times. And do you notice how sensitive our era has become? That they went through hard stuff. The teen girls heard of and saw stuff that these girls are immune from today. And the biggest thing that comes out of the average American girl's mouth today is, oh my God, flaky. And they're reacting over trivialities. I was telling the lady at the house last night, we were talking about cell phones, and I was reading an article where older people are saying, man, we can't even have a family gathering, and the young people in our family, while we're eating the Thanksgiving meal, are under the table texting. And I love my son, and I'm going to tell him, the cell phone stays in the truck, or you don't get paid for anything today. I'm not going to play. I'm not going to get in a tug of war. You bring the cell phone, you don't make a profit. This is a job, and you're going to learn through me that this is the way it is. And I will send a text tonight indicating that. These kids can't let go of this dang thing. Picture this video clip, me standing on the deck of a ship and taking my phone as soon as I get 10 minutes outside of Long Beach on the mighty Pacific and go and throw it in the sea and go, I'm free. We have become submissive to the technology. It has become our master. And it's replacing our God more and more and more. Analyze yourself, my viewers, and ask yourself how much of what you conversate about with the text messaging is really that critically important. I'm not talking about needing it for your job. I need it on my job. I'm down at the lot. I got to get called. Hey, can you come back? We got to go get these trucks. We got to do this for the salesman. Okay. Contrasting Amelia Martin from the teenage girls I see on my bus, there is no comparison. The gulf is so hugely, vastly different that I feel like I have been transported into another world altogether. Today's young girls think they're tough. We've fashioned an image not based on reality. These young women couldn't handle the horrors of a civil war. These young women couldn't trim the wick of a lighthouse and scrub the lens and get out on a rail perch around that thing in a blustery Atlantic storm, ripping at you where you're holding the rail with one hand and scrubbing the light prisms with another. I'd love to see a 15-year-old, 16-year-old high-maintenance teenage girl attempt that today. Shoot, we get storms of lesser degree, and they're in the house taking selfies with the window behind them going, oh my gosh, look, it's raining really hard. Wow, big deal. That today's young women have become stars of their own Facebook page. That everybody's showing off, that everybody's looking at themselves over and over again and photographing the meal they ate, photographing their dog sleeping upside down with his legs in the air, photographing their sleeping baby. Now, no offense, I understand a mother's love for her child, but everybody thinks their baby's darling. And everybody's putting 10,000 pictures of that. And even if I look at a Facebook page, it's like, how many baby pictures can a guy look at? Here's one of the baby going like this. Here's another one of the baby going like this. And it's picture out, and it's like, boy, this is getting boring fast. Even the pastor said this weekend, he said people are more caught up in how many thumbs up or likes they're getting on something they post, and they can't wait to see. Isn't that true? Who cares? How vain. I've been guilty of getting caught in it. Now more and more I'm taking a step back going, you know what? If you have something to say, say it, even if every thumbs down in the world comes against you. If Jesus were to have a Facebook page, I guarantee you the thumbs down would be greater than the thumbs up. God doesn't have a Facebook page. Facebook page, honestly, has become another form of narcissism. More marriages have been dashed to the rocks because of Facebook. 3,500 last year in the U.S. alone, I read somewhere. Why? Because girls start flirting with you. Oh my gosh, you're so cute. And then you're chatting back and forth, and before you know it, the bad time you're having with your existing spouse, you suddenly look at that old ex-girlfriend sweetheart and go, gosh, she looks good after 20 years. The Pacific believes, in spite of his faults, sins, and atrocities that he's committed in his 49 years of existence, that when you're married to somebody, you need to not open the door for flirting to occur. That you must take and guard against your marriage, and social media doesn't do that. Social media doesn't do that at all, in fact. But it warms my heart to think that I still have viewers out there that said anytime you want to come visit, you're welcome to stay. Whether it's a friend in Vermont, a friend in Korea, whether it's a friend that wants to go to Germany from Slovenia. I did not realize until I was searching countries to look at what the heck was I looking at? Oh, visa requirements. There is no Yugoslavia. It's Slovenia or Slovakia. I was like, wow, I didn't realize Yugoslavia had vaporized. I would love to go on a freighter. I'd have 25 days to make 25 videos or more and just itemize them on a sheet of paper, and then when I got to land, I could upload every one of them, starting with the first all the way down. And I asked myself, what would it be like to be away from the internet, away from your cell phone for 25 days on a ship out at sea, rolling along in the waves and the troughs, and who knows what kind of weather I'd be in store. God could bless me with a perfectly uneventful voyage, or he could throw the worst storm at me just to show me his raw power on the great and mighty Pacific. And I thought to myself, I think it'd be an absolute blast. I challenge my viewers to do something. Go 1 week without the internet, and without texting anybody, and without looking at anything on the online world. See if you can do it. If you can't, you're addicted. I'm not talking about your job. But it doesn't matter whether it's Facebook, whether it's any online social media. It makes you a slave. Add this, build this, send up pictures, description about yourself. What are your interests? What are your jobs? And I'm going to tell my viewers something. You need to be very careful. I had a friend of mine call me last night. She called me last night. She's a lady friend I have here in Colorado, one I don't talk about, a white woman who's a few years older than me. We work together at the bus garage. She's a paraprofessional. She just got back from Ireland, had a wonderful time. She said, I shut my Facebook down. I said, really? She said, I have a friend that every place she applied for, she wouldn't get called. And as soon as she shut her Facebook down, all of a sudden she was getting calls. I said, you really think there's a connection? She goes, Pacific, they're looking to see if you're on Facebook. I said, really? I have heard that employers are doing that they're looking at the stuff you post. And what they're really looking to key in on is if you got an anti-work mentality or you're going to badmouth the company. I know a girl that wrote an email to Spokane schools on a day we had a very wretched day when all the surrounding districts closed and we had 2 feet of snow, slush, frozen, drippy mess at the bottom, crusted on the top with powder on top of that. I threw a pair of tire chains on one side of the bus. Didn't even know it until I got back. I got stuck so many times that day and spinning and having to back and rock that thing. And I got through the route and all my high schoolers said, do you want to sit in the back? I said, I didn't even think of that. Do it. And that bus got around like a 4x4. They all crowded in the back and it was perfect. And they gave me a standing ovation when I got to school. You're the first driver that has made it through the route without getting stuck, and you're awesome. I said, I lived in Minnesota. I'm not going to let a Spokane snowstorm slow me down. It was awesome. It was a rock star moment. A paraprofessional for our company did not say anything about our company, but she wrote and said, it seemed pretty stupid to have school open today. It was very hard for kids to get to school. People were stuck and stranded all over. It was terrible. Spokane Schools made a call to the boss and said, isn't this one of your employees? The boss looked at it, said, yes, it is. She was promptly fired for leaving a comment, exercising her right to freedom of speech. She didn't cuss. She didn't represent our company, but she was fired as an employee for saying anything against the school's decision. Censorship much? I think so. But contrast that with the kind of stuff people are doing online. We're not going to revisit that dead horse. But people can make up sites with bad implications, with slander, with defamation of character, racism, all that, and nothing can be done. It's funny the way political correctness has gone in this country. If you offend the gay people, you're going to be in court. If you offend the feminists, they're going to come after you. If you say anything that a black person doesn't like, or a Mexican person doesn't like, or an Asian person doesn't like, watch out. But it's open season on white people. Have you noticed that? White people this, white people that. Christians this, Christians that. People hate Jewish people. That I cannot figure out. They've never had any wrong done to them by a Jewish person, but they just hate Jews. Makes me wonder. Those same people say there's no God, and I go, oh, there's a God, because these are his people, and you're hating them for no reason? Sounds like your master is clearly the devil himself. Pacific, when he defends God's people, the Jewish people, I am not saying that Jews don't sin, that there aren't horrible Jewish people that act horribly. But to hate a race of people, to be anti-Semitic, I have no tolerance for it. There's some blacks that give themselves a bad name, and I don't like what I call ghetto blacks. Blacks that are racist, blacks that hide behind their so-called boo-boos from the white man when they didn't even go through anything from the white man. It was their great-great-great-grandfathers that were cotton pickers, and even then, those cotton pickers, though they went through horrible times, were more genteel, kind, loving, and graceful than today's pants-wetting, overly sensitive, butt crack showing, gangster rapping, overly sensitive people that if you look at them the wrong way, they're going to shoot you in South Central Los Angeles. You've got to be kidding me. Grow up, baby boys. That Hollywood has presented this image of the tough rapper. There were no rappers in the Civil War, and nobody was impressed with Snoop Doggy Dogg back then. Nobody gave a flying flipping care. And it should be the same today. But we're the vain generation, the media generation, the image-only generation. I look tough in my SUV. But could you fight it in the Civil War? Could you trim a lighthouse? Could you, as a 15, 16-year-old boy or girl, do what Amelia Martin did? Here's a test. How many 15, 16-year-old girls are in the kitchen fixing their family 3 peach pies and giving one to the neighbor and one to the lighthouse keeper? Yeah. Did I just hit on a nerve? Most girls can't even operate a fricking microwave. They go to 7-Eleven and buy their lunch. Or the fast food restaurant. I am amazed at the number of kids whose 3-course meals literally consist of fast food. Gone are the days when mother put out a spread. And our generation laughs at the 50s. Makes fun of it, mocks it. Hold on, I think I hear a dog. No, just house creaking sounds. We're not in Kansas anymore, are we? I think of my grandpa when he was alive. The most high-tech advanced thing they had that would even come close to the internet was shortwave radio. Morse code. You would never have teenage girls getting on that. Never. Teenage girls didn't even look at shortwave. Shortwave radio was for guys and men. Why is the internet so popular with girls? Because you can take 10,000 photos of yourself and think you're God's gift to woman and you're something on a stick or something in a bag, and you can market yourself out there and have 10,000 likes, and I still don't get it. Even coworkers of mine that are pretty got 5,000, 6,000 Facebook friends, and I thought the only reason why is you're showing cleavage. That's it. You have no depth of character. You have no substance of soul. You're like cotton candy at a fair where the kids go, Mommy, can I have some of that? Now that's bad for you. Oh, but it's so good. We're a cotton candy culture showing our cotton candy stuff. Looks good, tastes good, but in the end it leaves you with nothing. Am I speaking truth? Cotton candy culture. I went to work yesterday and turned on classical music. It's a different ride across the different metros and counties to get to work versus listening to rock music. I'm more relaxed. My mind is more cerebral. And when I read this book, and I think of some of the great classical pieces as the backdrop of Amelia's story, I go, you know what? This was a quality young woman. A quality young woman who went through a very difficult time. In fact, when I read about this, it's embarrassing that America had its own civil war, and she even writes in there, we're at our weakest. Could the British or the French come and take over right now? Whoa, here's a young lady who's thinking about the realities. A young woman who walks down rows across the ditch, sees three men getting drunk in high spirits, living it up, and she's thinking, what's the occasion? And she gets back and says, Mom, there were three drunk men. Why drunk in the middle of the day? And the mother very seriously and without breaking stride says, 3 black men were hung today, that's why. Boy, talk about a conscience of nothingness. 3 black men hung and nobody cared. That a young lady has to hear that. These teenagers today are not tough at all. They're not even close. They're legends in their own mind. They're Hollywood quaff. I'm sorry to say that about even teens I haul. They're lightweights. I understand that we live in a different time. But today's teens aren't helping on the farm. They're not milking cows. They're not driving Farm All International or John Deere tractors. Most of them are sitting on their butt, being as lazy as they can be, and the parents can't even get them to do simple chores like clean the cat box, take out the trash. Remember Facebook parenting? Girl went on and on her internet, on her Facebook, calling her dad cuss words, saying, my parents are so stupid. Father works for IT, got software to put in her computer, saw her Facebook page open and saw that all for himself. And he's like, really? And he did a video that got national attention and he was even criticized on Dr. Phil by Dr. Phil, another pansy pop psychologist who's a legend in his own mind somewhere along the lines of Oprah. And you want to talk about our toxic culture being exported around the globe? Snap the screen too with conversation with me and lady from Yugoslavia, and she says, I got upset at my mother today. She makes me so mad. I ate 1 chocolate or 2 chocolates out of a box, and she yelled and screamed and went on for a half an hour. She said, my mother watches Oprah. My mother's into meditation. And I wrote her and I said, the women that I have met in the white women community, they're into yoga and meditation, are some of the most uptight women I've ever seen. They are rude as all get out. And they're supposed to be meditating, which would engender, peace. And have you ever noticed it's white women that get caught up in all that new age flakeroo religious stuff? And these women float off into some tangent somewhere. Shirley MacLaine walking on the beach saying, I am God. Sorry, my God doesn't menstruate, lady. When my God bled, it was for our sins. We live in a very different age, and I'm glad I'm reading this book. I found the book in the break room. Somebody brought in a box of stuff to give away, and I grabbed it. There's more depth in that book than there is on 10,000 Facebook pages combined. Sorry, not trying to step on my viewers' toes. But we have to step back from ourselves and ask, what are we doing? Where are we going? What is the point? That even Pacific, at the end of the day, when I turn off everything and go to bed and I finish the evening reading, I lay there in bed and listen to the sound of the wind. And I thought people did just fine without the internet. Now today, people start having physical symptoms when they can't find their cell phone. Anxiety, panic. Amelia versus the internet. Technology has made us lazy. Technology allows us to put forth an image that is only that. A veneer. Look at the tough kids walking around with their baseball hat on backwards. and their whole image that they want to portray as tough. You know, most of them can't even do one day's hard work at all. And now even I have been deeply affected by this continued vanity stance that our nation takes. And now you have to be careful not to offend your own son or daughter and hurt their feelings. And it's like, you know what? Amelia Martin was a mature young woman who at 16 would have been more than ready for marriage. A teenage girl today? Oh my gosh. I call it the mall face. When I walk through the mall, I'm like, gosh, this is just, I hate seeing this. It's just so many teenagers walking and drifting through the mall, spending money that they didn't earn, carrying their little attitude, showing their little cleavage. And the only thing you hear over and over is OMG, 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 Facebook. And I think, what a silly little culture. We're not leaving a legacy. You go back to the Greeks, and you go back to Mars Hill, and you find ruins. People used to go into Mars Hill and have debates and talk about the important stuff. Well, is there a God? And today's teens, they're not talking about that. Even friends of mine that are adults got to take 10,000 pictures of themselves on every outing to post on Facebook. And if all this were to shut down and quit right now, a lot of people would have nothing to show for their life. All this cyber stuff would go, whew. Then what? Do you have a work ethic? Do people, neighbors, and other people know you as a fine, upstanding person who had value as a worker, as a fellow human being? And Amelia cares about other people in the midst of all her duties. We're the entertainment generation. We're the lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God generation, as it says in 2 Timothy 3. We're the haters of those that are good. We're the ones that are disobedient to parents. We're the ones that are treacherous, rash, reckless, without natural affection. And we're not stepping outside of ourselves and saying, hey, stop the bus, I need to get off. Use the technology for the glory of God. But don't let the technology become your God. Yesterday I talked about fixations in a very detrimental, diabolical level. But fixations with Facebook, fixations with texting, fixations with the vain, vanity-loving age also are equally as destructive in that they get you to focus more on yourself and less on God and other people. That even me, just watching people that I like, are spending so much time on Facebook that are in a relationship with somebody else. It's like, how do they have time to do that? When I was married, there wasn't Facebook then. But I didn't have time for that. I had a son, I had work to go to. And I look at these people that are blessed to have a boyfriend or girlfriend, and they're still spending all this time on social media. And they're enjoying the comments that I or others make about their cute pictures that they post. And it suddenly dawns on me, where's this all headed? Everybody knows where it's headed. We as men and women aren't doing what we need to do to protect those relationships we have, whether it's just a boyfriend or your spouse. Should you be putting a page together showing all these sexy pictures of yourself and picture after picture so that other guys can go, oh my gosh, she's cute? Remember, there's a saying, all's fair in love and war. You put yourself out on social media, Don't expect the rest of us to respect the fact you have a committed relationship with somebody because you're advertising yourself. And then it comes down to the contest of which of us can pry you away from that person. No, I don't think like that. I don't think, oh, I want to get her from, but you put yourself out there where we start going, shoot, she's putting herself out there. Things must not be that good with her and her love. I'm spending an awful lot of time on here. This is her communication. This is her daily activity. How come this isn't going on between them? But let's go deeper. Men, do you really want a Facebook wife? Do you really want a Facebook girl? She'll have a divided heart. And she'll have her heart in the Facebook media culture and enjoy all the comments she's getting from all the guys while saying, well, but I have a boyfriend. Well, if you have a boyfriend, what are you doing here? I don't want to be legalistic and say Facebook is evil and demonic, but I will say that for us as Christians, we've got to step back and ask ourselves, should we be on it? What is the real motive behind it? Oh, well, I use it to keep in touch with everybody. Pick up the phone. I mean, you think about social retardation and you think about the word retarded. I'm going to tell you right now, I've gotten some people angry in the last week. I said, I'm done with all this typing. Done. Finished. Now it's silent. I love it. Good. I don't have to read all this stuff. I don't have to respond to all this stuff. I love that there's no more comments. Not because I'm trying to be rude to my viewers, but it's like, folks, you tell me what you want. You want a comment forum or you want a video forum? Would you rather hear what I have to say, or do you want to have a forum where you can leave comment and have all the trolls and everybody that don't belong there getting in there too? I think the best shot I fired across the trolls' bow is I shut down the comments. They have to go on their own site and do it. And guess what? I'm not looking. I don't care. You want to run your mouth like a toilet bowl on your Google page or whatever? Go ahead. Fixations. Me, I'm moving on and I'm done with it. We took the power out of the trolls' hands and said, we're done. You guys will have to comment on your own sites. And guess what? You're just not going to get the desired effect. The only kind of people that are going to agree with you are the malcontent troublemakers who are already there anyway. But the bulk of my fans, they're not going to keep going on your page and looking at it. They're going to go, this is stupid. And the thing is, when we look at what's going on in our world today, that people aren't stopping and questioning any of what they're doing. We can get so caught up in the focus of the internet rage that we can lose our own Christian virtue over it. And we're seeing that play out as I speak. How many of you actually have quality friendships that go beyond a Facebook account? Where you are on the phone, where you call somebody and say, let's go do something together. When I turned off the computer last night, did some reading and heard the rain falling, I thought, you know what? And I'm going to attack women right now because women, more out of the sexes, cannot handle being alone. They can't stand quiet. Only in the context of going to bed. But I look in that truck yesterday, and I look at women in general. They love clutter. They like all this insanity. Whether it's a woman in Brighton, Colorado, who's got horses scattered all over the rural area, and a dog that she can't leave, and then a car that the engine blew up, and then she lost her license because she didn't pay a traffic ticket, and you start going, my gosh. Get rid of the dog so you're not trapped in your house. Start selling off the horses that you can't see anyway, but they won't do it. Women have led themselves to believe they have to have all this drama and junk in their life. They can't do it. They can't live simply. They can't turn off all the noise. They can't say, oh my gosh, I want to simplify. And the average American man that goes after a woman like that, you inherit all that junk. Pacific wants a woman who's into me, not horses and dogs and cows and drama and baggage. And I didn't call her back. I didn't text her. I deleted the number last night. In fact, I went through my phone and deleted quite a few numbers of people that I'm not communicating with or whatever. Flakes that want to use me for a date when they're bored at home. It's like, no, forget that. People say, well, you don't have a lot of friends. You know what? That's good. Less stuff to distract me away from what's important. Yes, it gets lonely. But when I watch what is going on with the way people are turning and tearing up each other, I start to go, hey, at least I don't have to worry about that. A woman whose 21-year-old son has not gotten out and got his own place. And then a woman admits she's lived with guy after guy after guy and all they wanted was sex. Well, gee, when you let somebody move in, it's, free motel, free help yourself. And I stop and go, and I told her I will not move in with a girlfriend. I never have, and I won't do it. I don't want to live with a girlfriend. If I have my own apartment, I don't want a girlfriend living with me. Honestly, something's starting to happen to me. There's very few girls that I would even consider marrying, and so far, the only ones I would even look at as a possible candidate don't live here in this country at all. I don't want anybody from this country. I'd want somebody from this country because it's easier, they're here. But when you look at all the stuff you got to wade through, no, better to be alone and single. I don't want a woman who's all wrapped up in social media. I don't want a woman who's so concerned about a Facebook page or Twitter or tweet. Social media can be a good thing. It can be a tool to reach people, which is what my channel's aim has been. It didn't start out that way. It was just fun and games, sitting on the toilet, my first video. But it was a forum that I suddenly realized had the power to communicate the truth. And it was a touchstone for people that felt bashful about sharing their faith, people that had been rejected and made fun of for their looks and this and that. It's pulled people out to realize you're not alone. It's also pulled out a whole lot of attackers. People who truly are the products of a deteriorating culture. They're not doing anything productive with their life. They think that they're smarting off and sitting behind a monitor and being rude to people is their sole calling in life. I don't even need to get into that, but that's a sign of a sick individual. That's a sign of somebody who's really, really, really lost it. They need to read A Light in the Storm. They need to read books like that and check themselves and say, wow, a 16-year-old girl trimming a lighthouse wick on Fenwick Island is more mature than any of my trolls. Some of them are all the way up into their 20s and 30s. I like contrasts like that. It's contrasts like that that cause me to think, and it's contrasts like that that get me to put into perspective that some people are so focused on thumbs downing something as if that makes a statement. They crucified Jesus Christ because they hated him. Did that really make a difference? He rose 3 days later and he walked right through Jerusalem and they couldn't touch him. So it is with us, the child of God, that we are under the Father's care. So what if a couple thumbs down show up? Who cares? Is God giving me a thumbs up or is he giving me a thumbs down? To the child of God, he's given us a thumbs up. He says, I sent my son for you, man. I'm for you. I want a relationship with you. Who cares what some humans think about my channel or my thoughts? As long as my thoughts line up with God's thoughts, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. God takes into account that I have my own will and personality. And you see that in the New Testament with the disciples. God did not come to make automatons. God never, ever, ever in his word said that we're supposed to submit to the cultural mentality of if the masses don't like it, you got to retool yourself. No. Pacific will not retool himself. The SS United States was the fastest ocean liner. Nobody could duplicate it. It set a speed record for a transatlantic ocean liner that no ship has ever been able to catch to this day. The cruise ships don't even they don't even go after speed. None of them can go as fast as the United States did. Some people didn't like the United States. They thought it was too sleek and too modern. Some people liked the old four stackers, as they call them. The Titanic, the Lusitania, the Mauretania, the Olympic. The big, massive, showy ships. But my point in all this is, why would you retool the United States? It was the fastest ocean liner ever. Blew the doors off all the competition. Why would Pacific retool himself? You think I haven't looked at other people that are attacking me and look at their views, and they're way down here? When you're controversial, you're going to be a lightning rod. Why retool myself? Why stop now? It means I'm getting to somebody good. Could I live without the internet? Yes, I could. It'd be boring for a while. But at the end of the day, we all need to ask ourselves, what are we accomplishing through this medium? Or rather, what is this medium accomplishing through us? Is it dominating us? Is it controlling us? Is it an obsessive compulsion that we have for it? Anybody that takes the precious time they have while it is today, when you do not know if you're even going to be alive tomorrow, because tomorrow is uncertain, it's not here yet. If you're using your time to hate and to spite, yeah, you've lost it. You're going to build your whole life on tearing somebody apart. You're not making any money from that. You're not going anywhere with that. I would love to go to Germany and spend time with her, because I know that any conversation we have is going to be a lot deeper than a lot of the people I see in our culture over here. Pretty sad that a simple book written in 1861, a diary, I'm fascinated by it. There's a girl I'd like to get to know in real life if I was back in that time. You think she was a feminist? People weren't talking about the gay issue. They weren't talking about abortion. They weren't talking about feminism. Back then it was work, survive. She knew her neighbors and community. And she had to go row across water to get to that community. A lighthouse is all by itself on an island. Are we really building community with the internet? There are some people who spend so much time on the internet that them I can say you need to get a life. Especially when you find out they're unemployed. The Bible's very clear about sitting on your butt and doing nothing. That even if you have enough money in reserves, you should be out volunteering at a soup kitchen or doing something for the good of humanity. Sitting on your butt every day and spouting off on the internet is not going to bring glory to God, and you're not going to hear, well done, thou good and faithful servant. You will not. Sam, I am. And what's happened is we've allowed the culture to dictate to us so much. And because our focus is more on that cultural iconic thing called the internet and less into the deeper things of the Word of God, we find ourselves invariably walking in the flesh and still thinking we're a better Christian than everybody else when we're committing more sins and behaving in a manner on the internet that's not consistent with what the Bible teaches. How can anything else prevail? When you give your allegiance to something, it shows who your allegiance is to, whether it's the internet, whether it's your hate campaign, because then suddenly you're not exhibiting biblical behaviors on the one hand. Ouch. I've been there, and I still have to guard against that. Whether it was my behavior in a chat room and stepping up to all the people that were so hateful, then you're reducing yourself to their level to fight back. We have to check ourselves and ask, is what I'm doing bringing glory to Jesus Christ? And it is amazing to watch how fickle people are on the internet. People commenting on my decision to make this judgment or that judgment. Instead of coming and telling me, they leave it on somebody else's site. Men doing this, acting like little girls. Running over here, leaving a gossipy column, Pacific stubborn. Really? Really? I have no time for little girls. I don't care if you've been a fan on my channel for 4 or 5 years. You want to do that to me? See ya. I'm done. You want to apologize? We can start on new ground. If not, go be a girl, and go be a girl somewhere else. I'm not stubborn enough, honestly. I'm not disciplined enough. I'm not as strong as I'd like to be, that I should have laid down a steel heavy foot a long time ago. When I started the channel, I should have never allowed comments at all. That act alone, if I'd have done that, would have never gotten the trolls off the ground at all. Their little hot air balloon would have gone. But I tried an experiment, tried to be community, and I see that the internet is really not a community. It's trying to be. But yet we say things and we do things and we act in contrary ways, totally unintimate. The Bible calls for an intimacy among believers that we don't see on this internet. Oh, Pacific blew it. And instead of coming to me, we're going to go leave some snide remark on another channel. Girl stuff. Teenage girl stuff. American style. Birds of a feather flock together. And the good thing that's come out of this stuff is it gave me perspective. And last night, for the first time, honestly, in my soul, I'm actually more and more comfortable with one day just saying, no more. This doesn't have to continue, meaning my channel doesn't have to. I don't need this for my survival. I don't need this to bolster up my insecurities. I do this because I love to talk, and I do this because there's some quality people out there that get something out of it. And that I'm going to retain as my focus. I know there are viewers who would love nothing more to see me on the deck of a ship with a video saying, wow, Pacific finally got to do it. I was watching Michael Palin's Pole to Pole last night. I find myself freed up now to do other things, to start watching documentaries and seeing a window, a porthole to other cultures. And I go, you know, this is way more productive than entertaining a bunch of scut on the internet. I'm not saying my fans all are scut. I'm not saying that, but dealing with trolls is like the war on terror. It never ends. Trolls are internet terrorists. That's what they are. It doesn't take guts to get on a bus in Haifa or Tel Aviv with a backpack bomb and blow up where you don't have to face a court. That's not a man. It doesn't take guts to get on the internet and hide behind a monitor and say F you comments to people. When a young woman in 1861 has more balls than most men on the internet today, I get perspective and go, come on, Pacific, gain some confidence here. These people attacking you, they couldn't even do what Amelia Martin did. They're not even doing it now. They couldn't then, they couldn't now. They're internet girls, boys becoming little girls, gossiping and leaving their little comments. We don't see warriors today. It's pretty sad when I can look at unbelievers that are interacting in their world and making money and aggressively trying to, when they sell trucks to their customer, they make sure to iron out all the kinks and bugs to please that customer so that customer will not just buy one truck, but will come back and keep buying a steady supply for his or her organization. What are trolls doing? They're not doing that. I'm getting more perspective in the last 2 weeks, and that's good. It's needed. That even myself, I've lowered myself to engage with girls acting like girls. Boys that are not boys at all, they're girls. They're immature. They're childish. They leave a comment on this channel, but don't come to me and say, hey, I've watched what's going on and I wanted to give you some. Go away, little girls. And I don't care if you live in Vancouver. I don't care if you live in Hong Kong. I don't care if you live in Georgia. I don't care if you live in the middle of the Midwest. I don't care where you're from. I'm starting to grow up a little bit, and I'm starting to go, thank you for showing me who you really are. That's good. And I don't need a job in your bookstore. God's given me employment, thank you. Yes, I'm tired of this stuff. Stubborn? Welcome to stubborn level number 2. I don't care if I lose you as fans. I don't care. It's just the internet. That's all it is. You don't give me my paycheck. You don't give me what I need. You're not my God. Your approval rating or disapproval rating means absolutely nothing at the end of the day. You know what means something to me? Is yesterday after working my butt off for 8 hours is when the boss says, you're doing a good job on that other lot. Thank you very much. When I come home and the man of the house told him about my day and he says, I'll bet you do more work than all those people down there. Those other 2 lot guys. I said, oh, yeah, I do. Who cares on a thumbs down on a video? Do you see our focus has shifted today? I am mentioning this again, that there are people that sit out there going, hey, if we have enough thumbs down, we can discourage this guy and run him out of here. Not going to happen. I don't care if there was as many views as thumbs down. I'd say still 300 people watched, so it can't be all that bad, huh? Keep on keeping on. Stay the course, as my atheist friend would tell me. I'm sorry, but when I go to work every day, I work with men that are leaving more of a legacy by working hard and providing for their family and trying to be ethical people in the workplace, which is far more than the BS I see on the internet world. Give me a break. You have a right to defend whoever you want. You have a right to throw your hat in the ring towards anybody. I don't fault you for that. But you want to make your stupid little dumb baby girl comments on another channel instead of talking to me. See ya. And I'll help make it easier for you to go. I'll say something that offends you that'll make you, oh, I've had it with him. Good. Get out of here. There's the door. It says exit. True force loneliness? No. Feeling comfortable with being on the bridge of my channel and saying, hey, this is my ship. Sorry, I want a crew that's behind me. Faithful. I want a crew that's loyal to me. I want a crew of men that a man can write me and say, hey, I agree with everything you said, but there's this one thing I wanted to talk to you about. And you handle yourself nice. I'm going to listen to you. You go leave little girl comments on another site, put me down. I'll open the door for you, and I'll give you a little shove and say, that way. Am I trying to win viewers? Am I trying to be Joel Osteen and win the popularity contest? No. But I'm sorry, I looked at a channel today and I looked at views, 30, 40 per video, tops 132. If this is going to be a competition, then I've blown the doors off of that one, but it isn't. There's some people aren't flocking to that. Why? Because you're not controversial enough. People attack Rush Limbaugh, but they listen to him. And I agree with a lot of what he says. I don't listen to him all the time, once in a blue moon. When you're saying the kind of things that need to be said, you're going to be a magnet for trouble. Master, know you not that the Pharisees were offended at what you said? And I could just see Jesus turn around saying, and? Pacific, do you know people are offended by what you're saying? And? What else is new? It's just that now we've reached a level where we're separating the men from the boys and the girls from the ladies. I like that. If a few fans that have been here a few years have finally been exposed and shown themselves for what they really are, that's been a good thing, hasn't it? Finally, some things have taken place that have shaken the leaves out of the tree. No. I'm becoming more comfortable that God is my provider, God is my rock, God will take me, whether it's Denver, Colorado, or Fenwick Island, Delaware, or Timbuktu, Africa, that I have to entrust myself to him. That's it. And our culture today is caught up in vanity and caught up in being pleased and caught up in happiness. Well, all that really matters is you're happy. Hey, be careful when you say that. A lot of evil people that are happy being evil. Is it really about their happiness? You better be careful. I hear this phrase thrown out in America all the time, and it's this. Well, the bottom line is if you're happy. Now, that's the litmus test for right or wrong, huh? So if two gay men are happy to be in a gay marriage together, that's okay. If a pedophile's happy molesting a 3-year-old little boy, is that okay? Oh, well, that's different. No, it isn't. You just said, well, what I want is for them to be happy. That's all that really matters. No, that's not all that really matters. What if their happiness comes at somebody else's expense? What if that happiness comes at God's command's expense? Is happiness become our God? Has thumbs up or thumbs down become our God? Has ratings become our God? Has likes like us on Facebook? I mean, it's gotten so bad that I'll see contractors pick up with the Facebook symbol, like us on Facebook, as he's cutting everybody off and no turn signal. Gee, should I get on there and put a thumbs down? A lot of good that's going to do. Man, if you've got all that advertising on your truck, do you think that person really cares about what really matters when he's driving like that? They only care about how many people like them on Facebook. Forget about the real you out in the real world, in a real truck, in real traffic, going like this to all the traffic laws and your fellow motorists. And that's what's happening on the internet. People are behaving one way on the internet and thinking that that's okay, including Christians. And they just, straining at gnats and swallowing camels even as things go on the internet. It's amazing what's happening, and I've seen it in myself. We're so caught up in the medium that we're acting unbecoming and behaving in a way that's not consistent with Christian virtue, and we're not seeing it, are we? Boys aren't acting like men. They're acting like girls. Oh, well, I don't like Pacific on this one. He's stubborn. I don't like this. I mean, come on, man. And that's what they do in American churches. Oh, I really don't like the pastor. Go tell him that. Well, I don't know. You go tell him that. And to my viewers that go on somebody else's channel and say, I don't support Pacific on this, why don't you come tell me that? Too late now, but why didn't you? But I'm glad you showed your true colors. Somebody wrote me just yesterday and said, it's amazing watching the fickleness of your fans. Somebody wrote me about MGTOW UK's comment, and I said, so what? I said, I know that there's people that are fickle. I know humanity. I've been in it for 49 years. I've seen it on school buses. I've gotten bus routes where they had horrible bus drivers on them, and the kids liked me the first day. Oh, you're awesome. You're great. Until I start laying down the rules. Oh, you're no fun, man. Same it is on this medium. When I start saying hard things, when I start making decisions that don't agree with the common prevailing mentality, when I have to fire a shot against somebody who fired a shot against me, and everybody happens to like that person, I crossed a line. No, I didn't cross any lines at all. Somebody else crossed lines, and I'm standing up and saying what I need to say. You know, part of being captain of a ship is you make decisions, and it doesn't really matter what the crew thinks. My job is to get the ship safely to port, and whatever that takes. I don't care if there's a bunch of disgruntled people down in the engine room bitching about things. Who cares? What is this? Going to be a mutiny? I don't think so. Now, Pacific's focus is coming back little by little on what it should be. These things have a sort of a cleansing effect. You'll never win the war on trolls, just like you'll never win the war on terror. It's a war that will never have a day of surrender. Never. Same with the trolls. So what you have to do is carry on, and you do your battle, and you do your video, and you do your channel, and you just more and more don't give them attention. And I'm thankful to God that I have actually had a wake-up call that, you know, these people that get behind you over and over again, when some hard stuff comes up and they suddenly turn and run over here, these aren't the kind of fans you want in real life. These aren't the kind of fans that when you have a war break out in your country that you're going to want them behind you and got your back, because they ain't going to have it. And that's our culture. It's like the tide and the waves just going like this. Water sloshes this way, water sloshes that way, slaps against the dock, sends up a big wall of spray. That's the internet. The internet is wishy-washy. The internet is up and down and moody, and no thanks. I'm still going to shovel coal in the boilers. We're still going to have the helm on full ahead, and those propellers are still going to churn through the water. And if people fall off the ship by their own doing, hey, I'm not turning around and rescuing them. I might toss a life preserve over. Here you go. Does that sound like I don't care? It does. That is an analogy more than anything that we need to be who we are. The Pacific is not going to change the direction of his ship to accommodate fickleness. As I told a woman last night, she's thinking about quitting one job, looking for another, and even people in her own family. The woman is 53 years old, mind you. She said her ex-husband, who she still goes to dinner with, not sure why there, he said, well, you'd be stupid to quit that job. And I said, lady, you need to make your own decisions. And when you make a decision, don't turn around and keep looking back. I was reading in the Bible, he set his face as a flint. That was Jesus. He set his face as a flint. Do you think that Jesus was going, oh no, they don't agree with me. They thumbs down my ministry. I mean, let's get real here. This thumbs down and stuff and thumbs up, that's all girl stuff. Ratings. We're going to judge you by the ratings. Think Martin Luther King went by ratings? No. He'd not. Any great anywhere, way back before Hollywood, didn't go by ratings. You think Abraham Lincoln was popular? For crying out loud. Amelia's own mother hated him. Didn't think he had a right to be president. He had more right to be president than Barack Obama does. Good grief. And did you ever hear the black people to this day praising Abraham Lincoln? No. You know what I've heard the black people say about Abe Lincoln? Oh, he was politically motivated. You know what, dude? He, single-handedly, with some other factors involved, shouldn't say single-handedly, but he, with other factors involved, got emancipation. I think he's a pretty terrific individual, because I don't support slavery. Amelia said that based on the information of her time, that they were going to march on Washington and take the Capitol. Oh, yeah, the Stars and Bars crowd, they weren't going to have it. Abraham Lincoln was in danger, man. And you know what saddened Amelia more than anything else? Is the new lighthouse keeper who came in. You got to understand there's different people involved in this whole thing. There's like a master, and then there's the one that does the daily duties. Her father and her did the daily duties, but then there's the master keeper and stuff like that. And he decided to have a party and invite everybody who's going to fly the American flag as a symbol of, we need to keep our country together. Even Britain laughed. Oh, look, they're having a civil war and they just got started. It sickens me to think that this country actually got into a war over the right to have slaves or to not have slaves. It sickens me that the whole Stars and Bars thing started as a direct, in-your-face, anti-American symbol. We want slaves. We're not for abolition. Why not? And most of those people that were for having slaves were treating them very poorly at that. I say throw the Confederate flag in the trash and get over yourself. I am sick and tired of this whistling Dixie crap, and that's the kind of embarrassing black eye that the South has given to us white people, and they continue to raise a stink over this, and it's disgusting. Throw it out. It's a cultural, relical piece of trash of a day and age of ignorance. We have a day and age of ignorance. Americans have been doing something so long that they don't even look at the roots anymore, and their comment to that is, well, it doesn't mean that to me. Oh, okay. Well, if I go abuse a dog, I'm not really abusing it. We got too many dogs that are costing money and needing to be fed. I'm putting it out of its misery. I wonder how far I'd get with that logic. Do you see what I'm saying? See, Pacific doesn't leave stones unturned. He gets right down underneath the floorboards with a crowbar and starts prying underneath and says, ooh, look at all this dirt down here. And people don't like that. We live in a culture that's so jacked up and so upside down and topsy-turvy ridiculous, and people think that that's where it's at. Like I said yesterday, that it's okay to abortion, we call that choice, and a woman's right over her own body. But go up and slap a dog on the butt and watch how many women go, I mean, they just freak out. Animal abuse is more important than killing your child. And people in America, women, think that they're enlightened and intellectual? You've got to be kidding. What part of stupid do you not understand? The hypocrisy, the silliness of the ideology you hold over here, but you want to vilify and put in an electric chair somebody who abuses a cat, a dog, a parakeet, or a goldfish. We got churches in America. The United Methodist Church in Denver allows people to bring their pets in to be blessed. And they sing, all creatures of our God and King. Now let's all worship Doggy's thing. I mean, it's ridiculous. Watch a bunch of women on a bicycle path around a lake. Oh, your dog is so cute. Oh, yes, it's cute. He is 3 years old. He's a pedigree. And I want to say, who cares? Talk about fluff. And I'm not talking about Fluffy. This is a sign of a comfortable culture that has lost their mind. Lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. So vain, so stupid, so out of touch with reality and priority. And who cares if a few people thumbs down my video? Ooh, earth-shattering stuff here. I mean, come on, people. Let me go a step further, that even if all my fans hated my videos, I look at the numbers of viewers. They're watching. They must not hate me too much. They're watching. For those of you that are thumbs downing every video, what you don't realize is you're giving me one more number count. Maybe you're too stupid to see that. Maybe I just educated you. By you showing another number in watching the video, even if you only don't watch but 5 seconds of it, the time you took the thumbs up, it shows a view. You might want to think about that. So for 12 people that don't like the video, you just gave me 12 in the total count. Thank you. That is, in effect, a thumbs up against your thumbs down. If you really don't like me, quit giving me the numericals. People are dumb. People are hypocritical. People are not thinking with logic today. As somebody wrote regarding one of my trolls recently, your emotionally driven logic. When women can believe that it's wrong to have cruelty to animals, when we have women shacking up in trees in California or Oregon, chaining themselves to the tree over a spotted owl, you got to go, what's wrong with this picture? And I'll bet you that same woman supports abortion. How in the world have we gotten so convoluted that a human being doesn't have as much value as a spotted owl, a dog, a cat? That an SUV can endanger my life with a hoity-toity woman going to Cherry Creek with her dog on the passenger seat with the head hanging out the window? You bet I'll speak out about this culture, and the only people that are getting offended at me doing so are the ones that I'm stepping on their little precious toes. Men acting like baby girls because I commented on your speeding and your stupidity. It's been long overdue that we've commented on these things. Long overdue. It's been strangely silent. And some man rises up like a John the Baptist crying out in the wilderness saying, hey, when we're going to talk about truth, let's talk about all truth. Yeah. You can take your little stars and bars flag and you can stick it in the trash can where it belongs. It's a symbol of racism. It's a symbol of slavery. It's an anti-God, anti-biblical statement that you're saying that blacks are not as important as us whiteys, and I will have none of that. That I can have a disagreement with somebody or anybody, but I do not support racism in any color, by any camp. Everybody has to make peace in their own way with this issue of the Confederate flag. For me, it's a non-issue. I don't fly it. I don't support it. I've often wondered way back in the 90s, why does Georgia continue to fly that flag, which is a symbol of racism? I knew that even then when I woke up, and I said, it's stupid. It's really kind of stupid. Part of the Emancipation Proclamation should have said, and because we've set this free and the South lost, you're not flying that flag. This is the United States of America. Get rid of it. We have a flag, and it's called the American flag. You know what? And I'm sorry if I'm stepping on the toes of my Southern belles and my Southern compatriots. Oh well. I take the same stand on Christmas, Easter, Halloween, and all that. Why do Christians celebrate something for the sake of tradition? Jesus had a very pointed thing to say about that. For the sake of your traditions, you nullify the commands of God. And Christians do it all the time in America. The Bible says, do not worship idols. It's all in 2 John or 3 John. Keep yourselves from idols, little children. And why does he say that? Because American Christians are idolatrous as hell. I'm not even going to get started. When I look at Americans getting in debt for houses and cars, that's idolatry. Instead of waiting on God to provide, they justify it by saying, well, I can get a really good low interest. Where does it say in the Bible that you can get in debt to own a house? Where is your right to demand that you get to be a homeowner? Show me in Scripture where that's valid. Well, it's better. Yeah, you reason in your mind that it's better than paying rent to an apartment and on and on. Have you added up with the interest and the years of payments what you will end up paying for that house that's listed at $150,000? You'll probably pay $300,000 by the time it's done. So when it's worth $300,000, ooh, I've got a good return. No, you're just getting back the money you spent 30 years paying on that dang place. And did you forget about all the repairs that you have to foot? When you rent an apartment, you're not paying for the repairs. And yet more and more Pacific is realizing we don't own a thing. That's a myth. God lets you have it for a temporary basis. We in America got the wrong thinking in our heads. We tell everybody to trust in Jesus. We tell everybody we believe in God. We put forth this Republican, conservative, white picket fence, middle-class Christianity and think that that's right where God wants us to be. And God wants to shake us out of all of that mythology. I hate to burst your bubble, but conservatives and Republicans aren't any closer to God than liberals are. If you're a lost soul, you're a lost soul, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, and you're both going to the same place called the lake of fire. Let me make that very crystal clear. I agree with some things of the Republican camp because they lean towards my conservative views, but the Republicans have their sins. They have favored corporate America. They have favored big oil, but so have the Democrats favored big corporations and big oil. Both of them are doing it. And while the liberals run around driving their Escalades and Cadillacs with their little anti-big oil stickers, it's like, well, you just bought the biggest gas-guzzling thing you could buy. Hello, hypocrite. No, this stuff isn't going to make national news. Nobody wants to hear what Pacific has to say on a national forum because it would have flamed this whole country. Because I believe in stepping on everybody's toes. Truth needs to be told even if it convicts me, which it does. How many people do you have on YouTube doing that? Can I tell you? So far to date, 0. I haven't seen anybody who's doing that. I see some people that have some issues that are similar to mine, but I've never seen anybody stepping on all the toes that need to be stepped on. I spent time talking about Christmas. The whole Christmas tree, the wreath, all of that goes right back to satanic origins, clearly. And then you get some insipid, little warm, fuzzy, big roaring hearth fireplace, sip your hot cocoa, Frosty the Snowman, cute little caricatures of this and that. They get out there and they ignore the fact that Christmas was a very evil holiday that was the winter solstice, where people got killed, where children were sacrificed, where adults and children were having sex and orgies. Upstanding citizens of the community during the winter solstice would behave so utterly poorly and disgusting and revolting that it would shock even us as Americans. Do your research, people. The giving of gifts had nothing to do with Jesus Christ. That was started in the winter solstice. The lighting of candles and all that stuff has nothing to do with Jesus Christ. The Christmas tree has nothing to do with Jesus Christ. And yet Christians, more than any other group of people in America, perpetuate so much lies about Jesus as the reason for the season. Do you think the Pacific is going to put up with this kind of stuff and sit there and sit there and think that because a bunch of Christians are offended that I attacked their little cozy Thomas Kincaid holiday? You've got to be kidding. We have made an entire culture out of this, complete with Burl Ives, have a holly jolly Christmas, and Bing Crosby, I'm dreaming of a satanic Christmas. We do this stuff, and we do it over and over and don't question. And then when somebody comes along and starts to poke their finger at it, what do Americans do? Do they show evidence of wanting to hear the truth and really following Jesus Christ? No, they don't. They get ugly. Oh my gosh, he's a Christian and he's attacking Christmas. Well, I'm not going to put up with that. It doesn't mean all that to me. Jesus is the reason for the season. And go hug your little Fifi now. Doggy. You know, I'm sick of it. I love talking this way because it's freeing to me. I grew up in a culture where I was taught to stuff it by a mother who didn't stuff it. I had a mother who exploded and acted like a bloody fool all the years of my childhood. But out there in public, she put on the act. I grew up with women that are, hi, how are you doing? I'm doing well. BS. Pacific is not going to submit to this culture. Pacific's not going to submit to somebody's rules of how I should be on my channel. Thank you very much. Pacific's not going to submit to a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I will not, Sam, I am. I do not like thumbs up, thumbs down in a roller coaster car. I don't like it. I wish I could dismember the whole thing. And there's a way to do it, somebody told me. If anybody wants to private inbox me on that, please feel free to do so. I am checking it periodically. Don't expect me to get back to all the comments that you leave. Can't. But I did look last night and saw a couple comments, and I wanted to say thank you for some of my viewers that support me during this ridiculous time of trolls just plethораting all over the place. I like a comment that was emailed to me yesterday. And I'm going to leave the name out of it, but everybody that's been following me will know who I'm referring to. Said that somebody's endorsement of FP's videos and subbing to him is like finding a shiny penny in the back of a stopped-up toilet, while ignoring 99% of the horrible behavior coming out of Fine Piece's vitriolic rage against you, and yet focusing on your one act of posting pictures on a Tumblr site is just beyond ridiculous. It shows a lack of discernment, shows a lack of maturity, and even now, after I started paying more attention to that person's videos, I find that she's everything you say, not wanting to offend everybody, and it really shows the lack of a real man in her life of leadership. Well put. I'm not going to tell you who wrote me that. I almost copy and pasted it and put it on the video yesterday. I still might. I kept the email. There are some people that get on my channel that articulate very well. There are some people that say profound things better than me. You bet I'm going to spotlight that. Finding a shiny penny in a stopped-up, backed-up toilet. I like that. And watching the people make the comments on that channel has been enlightening. Little digs, little smart remarks behind my back, so to speak, instead of coming to me direct. Ah, the men defending a pretty girl. That's nothing new. She's pretty, I like her. Oh, Pacific's in the wrong. Put your boner away, bud. Put your boner away. Think with this, not that. I know. Been there, done that. That somebody that I was very close to was quick to point out things in the last week that I had done wrong, some things I said in some videos, but then also went on that site, didn't make a mean comment, and I just thought, you know what? No need to communicate anymore. That it dawned on me this whole thing has become ridiculous. That this whole thing has become a waste of time. But not entirely. It showed me another porthole into humanity and their fickleness. You write me 2 letters saying I shouldn't have said this, I shouldn't have revealed that, I think you lack discernment here, which I encourage people to do, but it's like, man, I'm being under attack. And then you're going to go back and say, well, I hope you two can patch this up because I love you both. I'm sorry, Pollyanna approach. I'm not into that. Because you made your statement by that. I even got a letter from that person defending that person's actions. But then you're quick to point out when I was dealing with all this stuff swirling, you know, I get tired of it. When I have to call you all the way in your country just to get on Skype, and I can't get messages on Skype, and then I got to read 15,000 emails, I'm exaggerating, and I got to respond to all these emails when I hate to type. It's like, if you don't want to talk to me, forget it. I'm not doing all this emailing. I'm done with it. Leave a message on Skype. I can do that. Let me know what time you're going to be there. No, Pacific is changing. You bet. Pacific is starting to go, you know what? I'll call the shots. Not you. This is my forum. I don't mean to be rude, but anybody's even fortunate that I communicate. Most people that get on YouTube and have as many videos as I do don't even interact with their viewers at all. I'm not saying, oh, you're so worthy. I'm not saying that, so don't take this the wrong way. That looking back in retrospect, I should have never allowed the comments at all. That maybe I'd have even more views if I didn't allow this ongoing drama in the comics section, which has caused a lot of problems. Literally. And caused trolls to gain more footing because they felt, ooh, I can go and go after them. It's stupid. Looking back in retrospect, when people attacked me, I shouldn't have said one word. I should have watched 2 minutes and said, trash can. So I was guilty of feeding into this without doing it intentionally. I was trying to defend myself, and in the process realized, yep, you're giving these losers airtime. You're giving them way too much rental space in your mind and on your channel. I see that now. I see it clearly. That anybody with a fixation to take my channel down, that alone, all on its own, says that's a disturbed mental issues person. And I should have let that stand all on its own and just backed away from it and said, you go, boy. Reasonable, intelligent human beings will see right through the trolls and see their motives and intentions and go, that's not only is it not biblical, these people are childish, they're disturbed, they need counseling. Yes, but instead, it's easy to get sucked into the vortex of this stuff. Watching some of my viewers, those that I even respected, start behaving in a manner that's, wow, none of them can make the comment to me, and now we're going to make it over here. Girl stuff. Our culture is turning into girl stuff. When you do stuff like that, you're being cowardly. You're being less than. Instead of going to the person and saying, hey, I think you're being stubborn on this and here's why, but allowing me to say, no, I'm not and here's why, but then you go leave your rude comment somewhere else, how am I supposed to respect that? That's not confronting the issue with me, is it? I have the right, as the captain of this so-called ship, to fire dispatch against somebody who did something. I have a right, and I will not apologize for that. I was not malicious or vindictive towards that person. Showing my displeasure in it? Yes. Saying what I had to say about it? Yes. But I learned something last night. Not learned, but came to the awareness and the realization that, you know what? There will come a time where I will be comfortable in saying, c'est la vie. I don't need this. It's therapy. It's fun. It's a hobby. But as I talk about the eroding of our culture, it's also eroding on the internet culture. And we got two choices. If you can't beat them, join them. Or you sail your craft amongst rocky shoals that threaten to cut deep into your hull and take the risk of saying, I'll sail as long as God gives me the engine power to do so. But if the day comes when God says, I want you to put the helm on finished with engines at last and dock this baby, so be it. I'm going to get on with life. And I still do it anyway. I go to work. I do what I need to do. And Pacific is Pacific, and enemies are always going to be there even if I'm not on YouTube. I've worked in workplaces. There's always trolls in a workplace. There's always that one person you've never done anything to that's just a thorn in your side. Every workplace, every church I've ever gone to. Except this one. This one that I go to, I haven't seen that yet, surprisingly. Trolls are just a reflection of real life. But the difference between trolls and real life is if somebody hates me in real life, they're generally going to make it known, and they're going to hide behind a monitor to do it. Chickens of the internet world, that's all they are. Cowards. Babies. Not even babies, that's an insult to babies. Babies don't even do this. Babies are incapable of doing this. Infants are incapable of doing this. And the bottom line is all this stuff started because Pacific posted some pictures of topless girls. Wow. Am I minimizing what I did? No. Will I still struggle with lust? Just because everybody got all bent out of shape? Is it going to go away? No, it's not going to go away. But because I run a channel that everybody says is a Christian channel, this is not a Christian channel. This is a Pacific channel who is a Christian. But since I run a channel, we don't post that stuff. And even after the postings came down, what, 2 weeks ago? This thing goes on and on and on and on. And even people have made smart remarks about me, even said, find peace, asking girls to send videos of themselves is creepy. Do you see him recanting? Do you see him apologizing? Do you see him taking stock? Do you see him analyzing his own sin in this, examining his own heart? Not at all. That's why I laugh at this whole thing that's came out. Now, the guns were all fired at me for pornographic images, but the guns were not fired at him for this hate. I wonder how many of these same Christians went and looked at Goremaster's site, clicked on that link, and did a public outcry on that. The only ones that did it are the ones privately emailing me and saying that is totally disgusting what he's posted there. Somebody left me a message on Skype. Christians are some of the stupidest people in America. They focus on this over here and ignore all the camels just running around in herds all around them. You bet I'm going to speak out about that. Am I mad because somebody spoke out? No, I'm not. I knew what I was doing was wrong. What I'm upset about is that you're not using that same standard about all this other stuff that's swirling around. Of course I'm going to speak out. The silence is deafening from all of those people that are siding with Find Peace. People are liking his videos. So what? 2 videos. Big deal. My subscribership went up to 3,037. It was down to 24 the other day, and it's jumped up in the last few days. With no comments, with nobody being able to interact with me, and suddenly more people are subscribing. Interesting. So what does that tell me? Subscriptions is more important than some stupid thumbs down. Who cares? The number of views watching is more important. I mean, if my videos drop down to 40 views, I'd go, whoa, what's going on? But it's not happening. There would be more views if my videos were done in 15-minute increments. Most people don't have 2-hour time to look at everything, so they go, oh, that's 2 hours, I'm going to wait till later. But I've learned something through the whole channel. People want the long videos, the long duration. Some people put it on their iPod. A guy in Canada does it to his artwork. No. Pacific's barometer of success or fail doesn't determine what thumbs up or thumbs down do. That's not my dashboard. That's not my warning gauges. My warning gauges surpass the channel itself and surpass the internet expectations. They go by what's called conviction of the heart, and they go by what I believe the Bible will say. That's all I need. Doesn't matter whether people think I'm a fail or a plus. If I know I'm standing on the truth, and I'm only one standing on the hill proclaiming it, Elijah thought he was the only one left, and God said, no, there's several thousand who've not bowed their knee to Baal. But I'm not the only one. I don't think I'm the only one. But I think I'm unique in the fact that I get into different angles of different cultural issues that go on, and people who worship their dogs and love their dogs and think that their animal's more important than the rights of a human baby in a womb, of course they're going to hate me and thumbs down me. Who cares about them? I wish every woman that supports abortion would hear what I have to say. I wish every feminist would tune in. I wish they'd be required and forced to listen to me. Who? Forced? Yeah, I wish that as part of their so-called women's studies that they would be forced to watch what I have to say as a man and say, good, let them all hate me. Let them all say the most horrific, vitriolic things about me. Do you think that's going to change my views of the truth? Heck no. But what concerns me more than anything else right now is watching Christians who were supposed to be one in Christ, be on the same page biblically, that Christians, just like in America, when all these issues come down, Christians run back, shut their doors, and sit behind Fox News and go, the world's getting so bad, and they fear and tremble. And the same it is with some of the Christians on my channel. Instead of coming to me direct and talking to me about their viewpoint and at least agreeing to disagree, whatever, they go back and leave comments on other channels that are just chicken crap. Why would I respect you? That's the kind of Christianity I've been speaking out about for 4 years. You know, everybody will get behind Rick Warren's wallet-driven purpose. Everybody will get behind Joel Osteen. Everybody will get behind Joyce Myers. But when Pacific, does something or says something that they don't agree with, instead of coming to me and talking about it, they'll run back behind my back and say it on somebody else's channel. Of course I'm going to comment on that. That's gay. To use an old California term, that's just gay. Don't call yourself a man. Don't tell me that that was a godly move. It's gossipy. It's Facebooky. It's internety, but it's not biblically. And you want to do that? Yeah, I'll call you out. If you can't handle the heat, stay out of my kitchen, thank you. It's going to get hot in here. I want friends that are real, and I want people who care. And I have to tell myself at the end of the day, this is just the internet. But it doesn't mean that our behavior suddenly needs to change on it, meaning that, oh, it's just the internet, who cares? No, you need to be consistent with your Christian character. All of us do. If you've got something to say to somebody, you say it to them face to face. The Bible calls for that. To say it somewhere else behind that person's back on another person's channel is not walking in the Spirit. To tell me I'm being stubborn but not tell me direct, and then write that you wrote me a message that I never saw. Come on, man. Did you tell me that? I've responded to your comments more than most people. I've had people get angry at me because I didn't jump all over their comments and speak right to them and thought that I was being rude to them. And I'm like, my gosh, I'm trying to keep up with all these comments. Really? That's why the best thing I did was turn off the comments. So what are they doing? They're going elsewhere and leaving their stupid stuff somewhere else. Hey, thank you for revealing who you are. As far as I'm concerned, I'm done with you. Finished. Unless you want to apologize and be a real man and say, you're right, I'm sorry. I'm forgiving, but it's not about forgiveness, it's not about bitterness, but if you're going to be like that, my interaction with you is finished. And if you want to keep on going with stupid stuff like that, I will call it out from time to time. That's my right. I mean, some people are really getting mad at trolls. Some people are even leaving FU comments right back to them. I don't want that either. But the war on terror, the war on trolls will never end. All I can do is continue to tell the truth and be who I am and run the channel the way I run it. And in time and eventually, there will be a new crop of trolls, and the old ones will get tired of it, move on, go find something else to do. Or either that, based on the kind of stuff they're writing, they'll get in trouble with the law, they'll cross the line, and then I'll never hear from them again, and nobody will, and nobody will know what happened because they'll be sitting rotting in a jail cell somewhere. That'd be a good place for them. Too bad our tax money has to pay for that. Personally, the way trolls behave on the internet, I'm starting to believe that if they do get arrested, they should just give them capital punishment. Because when you look at the stuff that they're saying, the stuff they're doing, they're promoting murder, they're promoting hate, they're promoting all kinds of yucky stuff. Why should they be allowed to live? If they get caught in the justice system, I say, throw the book at them. Push that little electric button and end it once and for all. Sorry. You know what? They're so rude. They're so uncouth. They're so unholy in what they do with the lies and the slanders. They should be put to death in the justice system. I agree. Jesus said, that if you hate your brother, you've murdered. Wow, Pacific, that's harsh. You want your trolls killed? I didn't say that. I said if they get caught in the justice system for doing something wrong, they should give them capital punishment, because based on the things they do say, they've committed murder anyway with the hate and rage that they're feeling and the fixation. Yeah, you bet. No. I have some dignity and I have worth, and that's not determined by the trolls. And as Pastor says, who cares whether somebody likes your recent posting or not? Does God love you? And the answer is yes. It doesn't matter if the entire 6-point-something billion populace was against Pacific and hated my guts. You know why? Because I have a scripture verse for that. And this applies to all of us as believers. Now, this doesn't mean that if you do wrong that you get to avoid being called out. Any of us. But it says in the Bible, if God be for us, who can be against us? That doesn't mean that nobody's against us, but it's meaning that it doesn't matter. If God is for you, all these people that are against you are nothing in his eyes. You think that God sides with the trolls in their malicious ways? Absolutely not. God is not for them at all. And looking at the fruit coming from one of them, it is doubtful that that person is Christian at all. Forget about losing one's salvation. It's doubtful the guy ever got saved with all the rage and hate he's creating. If God be for me, who can be against me? Some faceless thumbs down people? Ooh, scary. God is for me. Does that mean God agrees with everything I do, say, or think? Absolutely not. But he sent his son to die for me. I have a relationship with my Father. And when I cross lines that the Father deems I've crossed, he will discipline me and take me to the woodshed. Not you. I have a right to comment about my accusers. I have a right to comment on the stuff that's been leveled against me. Absolutely. Excuse me. But last night I got perspective. A 16-year-old girl during the Civil War has more maturity than any of my trolls. If you take 50,000 of the trolls combined, she has more maturity collectively than all of them. I'm glad I'm reading this book. It gives me perspective to calm me down and say, these trolls are not going to get an attaboy from God. Not at all. Stick that feather in your cap and call it macaroni and walk on whistling, buddy, because they're heaping sin upon sin to themselves. That's a fact. I spend too much time talking about low-life people like that. I've given them too much airspace. I've given them too much rental space in my head. And I start to realize, you know what? I live in a real world, though. I live in a real world with real people, and it's about work ethic, and it's about going to church on Sunday. It's about a relationship with my son, and it's about the relationships I have in the real world. This stuff here, I don't need this to survive. Though I have said that it's good that I've had this. I've had pleasant interactions with people, met some good friends that way. Friends, loosely in the sense of the internet community. But I lived most of my life without this. I will live the rest of it and can live the rest of it without it too. I just find it humorous that people are so fixated on me they can't drop it and let it go. They can't live without that drama. They can't live without making pages against me, all fallacious and ridiculous. They can't do it. And the two people I'm talking about are both unemployed. I'm going to say a very, very dogmatic statement that if you're capable of getting a job and you're not getting work, you're a loser. I'm not talking about somebody I know who has pounded the pavement in Missouri and tried and tried and tried. I'm not talking about that person. I know this person's heart and I know what he's going through. But people who've got time to do all that trolling and all that negativity and be talking with other silly little unchristlike girls, writing him private messages back and forth, that's all girl stuff. To them I say, get a freaking job. I work harder than you do. I have more respect for myself, and when Friday comes, I get to enjoy the fact that I worked all week and I get a well-deserved weekend break. You people that are unemployed are living in miserable conditions. You're fixated on your anger against me because you don't have a job and you don't have a life. And you won't change until you go get employment and do something productive. I rest my case. I don't need to defend myself against trash like you. And that is what you are. You are behaving like trash. And Pacific is taking out the trash every day by calling you out. Pacific has placed you into the dumpster where you belong, called you trolls, which is what you are, has called out your unchristlike behavior for those that claim to be a believer. And if you've got a problem with that, go dive around in your dumpster some more and spin around in there and roll all in your slime, because that's all you're doing. I have a job to go to. I have a life to live. I have people that I'm influencing, affecting on here and out there. You're not doing any productive collective good for society, yourself, or anybody else. You're entertaining gossip and false accusations, and you're keeping this thing going because it's become your soap opera, your ongoing soap opera. And I find the funny thing is one person accused my thing of an ongoing soap opera. And I'm watching this person drown in his own soap opera over me. The hypocrisy of what is going on the camp outside of mine is laughable. And that's why I shut my internet down and go into my room at night and kneel by my bed and read. I read about a young woman who was alive once, who wrote a diary that has more profound effect on me than all this scuttlebutt on the internet, with people thinking they're warriors for Jesus, behaving worse than teenagers on my school bus. The reason they're writhing, the reason they keep on going on, is because I'm calling them out and they don't like it. And instead of being mature and saying, you know what, he's right, I'm making myself look like a fool, they continue to stick both of their feet in their mouth day after day after endless day. I've still waited for these letters from these women that have written him all these sayings. Nobody has come forward to me. Nobody. Baseless, faceless accusations. Baseless, faceless accusations. Watching a strife causer cause all this problem. The good thing that's come out of it is several people on my channel have revealed the true colors of what they are. And I started to see, wow, I had no idea this was going on. I don't monitor my fans. I'm not a control freak. I don't go, ooh, what videos do they like? What are they liking? I didn't even know about that until somebody told me. Then I click over the video and it's like, whoa, look at all these comments being made about me that were never told to me by people that were being very friendly to me and leaving positive comments all the time. Whoa, I better keep an eye on that, huh? Two-faced. That's what that is. Does Jesus Christ call us to be two-faced? No. Somebody got mad that I referred to him as trash. Let me do it again. You are. And you're behaving as such. And if that bothers you, get over your megalomania. You are acting like it. You're still going on and on and on. You're still generating hate, fomenting all this garbage, all based on lies and slander, false accusations, and supposed letters from all these women where you're requesting videos of themselves. And not once have you stopped and said, yeah, that does look kind of funny, doesn't it? You're the one that has no discernment. And he accuses me of false teaching because I believe once saved, always saved. And yet I'm watching the way he's behaving, and it's starting to show more and more that he's not saved at all, ever. There you go. Let's put that right on the box and put the ribbon on it, put it on the shelf of irrelevance where it belongs. Somewhere in America, in some insignificant place, to where he obviously doesn't have friends or girls coming after him, and doesn't have a job to go to. And if you were to ask the townspeople about this guy, they probably said he's a wingnut. He's always preaching and yelling at people and obnoxious. Who knows? I'd like to ask the local people where you live what they have to say about you. People here don't like me, but they can all tell you I have a damn good work ethic. They can all tell you I'm a nice guy. They can all tell you I'm honest. I wonder what they'd have to say about some of you clowns. The reason I keep putting my finger on you guys is to let you know that you're not calling the shots anymore. I am. To let you know that you can keep spinning off in your universe. I don't read your comments until somebody emails me, little copy and paste here and there, and I just shake my head and laugh and go, boy, that's funny. The hypocrisy of this is just amazing. Girl stuff. Junior high girl stuff. Every so often when I'm sweeping my bus, I'll find a note on the floor, and I'll read it. Oh my gosh, Jessica's so fat today. Did you see her fat gut hanging out? Did you see that in that stupid retarded shirt she was wearing? Oh my gosh, she looks so stupid. And she said this and this and this. This is the same stuff that a Christian advisor is behaving. Same stuff. And he's old enough to know better. I don't even know his age. But if he's my age, oh my gosh. This guy would never be able to drive a school bus. My kids would eat him for lunch and spit him out. Notice when I made my charges against him, he says, oh, I could win him in a fight. That's it? You didn't tell me what your job is? You didn't tell me what your career is? You didn't tell me what you do? Funny that you're strangely quiet on that, which proves my point. You're unemployed. Unbelievable, dude. You should be ashamed of yourself. A grown man sitting on your butt on the internet playing girl gossip games all day. Wow, you're awesome. God's going to give you a thumbs up. Not. Do I care if you don't like me or your fans don't like me? I don't like you or your fans. Why should I? You're not the kind of people I want to be around. You're not godly Christian examples of anything. You don't inspire me to live a closer walk with Jesus. You don't do it. You can't. So if you can't back up and look at yourself and you just keep ramming your freight train of destruction down the tracks, you're going to go off your own bridgeless waterway one day and the whole train's going to go woo, and all the cars with it. That'll be fun. That'll be entertaining. I can't wait to see that video. The FP Express goes off the bridge and every car with them. This is fun. I gotta go to work because I'm gonna live my other life. I want to thank God before people think I'm boasting. I want to thank God that in His mercy He has given me sustainable employment. I want to thank God He's given me a job I can feel good about. I want to thank God for the people I work with. I want to thank God that God is good to me and merciful to me and that He loves me. I want to thank God that He has always been there for me, even when I haven't always been there for Him. I want to thank God that no matter what these fools say about me, that God loves me. This I know, for the Bible tells me so. That I thank God that I'm free enough that if a bunch of people that were faithful to me for 4 years suddenly hate me, I'm okay with it. Because I don't need that. I'd be very disappointed if God says, I'm done with you, Pacific. I'm leaving you and I'm forsaking you. That would be a very, very cold, awful day. So if everybody on my channel leaves me and God says I am for you and I will never leave you nor forsake you, I've got the best vote and the best thumbs up of all. My channel is not based on your stupidity, people. It's based on truth, and it's based on the fact that I have a will and that God made me a certain way and given me a voice and given me a platform, and I will continue to sail this ship. Woo woo! And if you don't like it, get off. The fact that you're still here, the fact that you're still listening to what I say, that's good. Maybe the seeds of truth, the Holy Spirit will work into your craw and get you to change one day. So, whether in pretense or in truth, Christ is preached. I'm still standing on the truth in spite of my faults. And you're still showing up at the table. All I can hope for is that eventually the jackhammer Pacific will eventually chip at that hard stone of your stony, nasty heart and the sins that you're ignoring about yourself. And maybe it'll break through. Because, you know, sometimes bulldozers can't move something, but the incessant chipping away at something will start chiseling away. Pacific's going to be a jackhammer for Jesus, and he's going to be a chisel, and I'll sit there with my hammer go tink, 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 and if it takes a little piece at a time, then so be it. I'm relentless, too. You have to be if you're a captain. You can't shrink back when a mammoth rogue wave comes at your ship. Oh, I'm done sailing, oh gosh. You turn your ship and you get your ship ready and you batten down the hatches and go, okay, boys, we're taking it head on. Even if it busts all the windows on the bridge and water fills the engine room, if I make it to the other side, I'm going to feel good, baby, because we made it through the mammoth wave. That's what life is all about. The only thing that bothers me is I'm realizing my channel's an analogy of what I've always wanted to go through in real life. This is a ship, and I am going through storms constantly. Sometimes I get the privilege of pulling up at a pleasant dock. But lately, I've been in a tsunami after tsunami after tsunami, and guess what? Keeps happening. Buoys right up to the top. In real life, I'd like to be on a ship and go through that stuff. Oh, it'd scare me to death. But it'd be good for me. Anybody that wishes for somebody to punch and beat me up and says that that would be good for me, that's not walking in the Spirit. I don't do anything worthy of being beat up because I don't treat people like that. I'm just amazed at all the people that think they're tough behind a freaking monitor. I don't think I'm tough behind a monitor or off the monitor. I think I'm tough in a different way. That even though I've had some things really shake me and shiver my timbers, that I'll get up the next morning, even though I don't like it, and face it head on. I have more courage than most of my bullies do on the internet. What is some of the people doing? Drinking, gaining weight, and sitting on their butt. Wow, you're such a man. I get out there and face it with all the people laughing and mocking me and making fun of me. This little small guy, the runt of the litter, the one who was adopted, is still sailing on. And people have recently come up and said, you know, with all you've been through, you're doing pretty well. I said, no, I'm not. I don't own a house. I'm not married. I've had 3. No, the fact is you didn't commit suicide. The fact is you still work a job. You have no criminal record. You're ahead of most of the people your age in Denver, Colorado, dude. And you're not in debt. Wow, I'm glad somebody with an outside perspective saw good in me. I'm sorry. When a 21-year-old woman in Germany who just turned 22 said as I was the first one to recognize her birthday, it says, when I move to Germany, you are welcome to stay with me as long as you would like. I think that's more important to me than whatever my trolls have to say. She's drop dead gorgeous. And no, she doesn't have the intent. She said, then we can have fellowship. You know what? There's people that have made invitations to me to come to their place, to their country. You know who my biggest thorns are in my side on my channel? They're not Muslims. They're not communists. They're Americans. Yep, Americans, Christians and none. The biggest bullies, the biggest blowhards, internet blowhards, that they would never have the guts to do this to my or anybody else's face, especially if all my fans were to show up. They'd shut up and walk away like a dog with their tail between their legs. These are not foreigners. These aren't Muslims that blow up trade towers. These are Americans. So you bet I'm going to keep speaking out about this culture. The land of the free, the home of the brave is full of a lot of problems. And as the most blessed world country in the world that has the most goods, I can't believe the level at which people have sunk themselves to. That Muslims are nicer to me than fellow Americans. Little boys acting like girls. Gossipy, generating strife and an ongoing soap opera that they have created. And unemployed at that. Sheesh. Yeah, I'm getting perspective and I'm laughing more and more. I'm going, sheesh. I go to work and I sling those batteries and I do what I do and I feel good at the end of the day. And we got people like that. I'm going to tell you something. If you're not getting a job and you're not having a job and you're sitting there on the internet doing this stuff, you're a loser. Pure and simple. And if a bunch of silly, weak-willed, insipid people want to follow you and give you a thumbs up, that doesn't mean God's given you an A+ on your assignment. No, siree, Bob. God's going to judge all of my work. And I'll be honest enough to say that most of what I've done will be dust in a fire, chaff that goes and burns out as quickly as it ignited. But I can sure as heck tell you, my trolls, that 99.9%, if not 100% of all they're doing is going to be burned up, and there will be no treasure, no rewards. I'm not the one running around doing the stuff they're doing. They are. All this over a topless girl. Yeah, amazing, huh? All this over topless photos of women while these guys have blown their stack and lost their heads. Isn't this fun, viewers? Mr. Canada, I'm doing a shout out to you. How's the art studio going? Eric, send me a private message. I need to get you my email. I discontinued one of my email accounts because I had put that out publicly, and I had discontinued one of those. Viewers, thank you for listening. Thank you for taking to heart what I put herein. Amelia versus the internet. Who wins? Amelia does. Amelia. Civil War girl. Teenager with more maturity than most 20, 30, 40-year-old American males and females. This is the problem when we have a comfortable culture that's used to sitting on their butt and could get on an internet with video and audio and listen to music and entertain themselves silly and stuff their face with more junk food. And you go back to that era, there was none of that. There was no McDonald's, there was no junk food, there was no malls, there was no Vanity Fair afloat. I wish I could go back into that time and say, Amelia, I love your diary. It's had a profound effect on me. No, I wouldn't fall in love with her. But I'd like to be around that kind of a people than what I'm seeing going on today. People that are bored with history, you need to get into it. Because what's happening is we're so caught up in right now that we need to go back to a touchstone, a standard that used to be, and see how far we've drifted from it. That we're a bunch of beached ships hitting the rocks because we're not even looking for the lighthouse anymore. And I look at Amelia and I go, my gosh, that's a rebuke to our entire culture right now. I understand times change and technology changes, but boy, you need to go back and read this stuff. It's called A Light in the Storm. Diary of Amelia Martin on Fenwick Island, Delaware, 1861. Find it on the internet and read it. She even mentions Darwin in there. Somebody handed her a copy of Darwin, and everybody was so excited to get it. It was like, oh, gosh. Where was the church then? They didn't say a word about Darwin. Is it any wonder that Pacific's, some of his own Christian fans are fickle and don't confront him either? They just go behind the scenes and do their little holy huddle against me? Typical cultural Christianity. Where are the men and where are the women in Christian circles? Part of leadership necessitates that Pacific just be a leader. Doesn't mean that everybody's going to approve of my decision, but people need to back off and allow me to make my decisions, even if that means that I have to take issue with somebody that everybody else loves. That's my business. That's my prerogative. I have my reasons for doing it, and I don't need to justify myself at all. This channel and this forum is not about pleasing you or anybody else. It's me being me. It's me saying what I believe is impassioned upon my heart to say. And that's what draws most of you in. So if I don't act inside your little box, don't be surprised. You should have known that all along. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Stay cool. This is Pacific signing off. Bye-bye.